Hi, I'm Kate, the Daily Tarot Girl, and welcome to my 2026 Tarot Forecast reading. So I'm so excited that you're here, and I'm really looking forward to peering into the year ahead to see what kinds of themes, energies, and opportunities may lie ahead for us. So the deck that I'm going to be using for this reading is the This Might Hurt Tarot. It's a deck by Isabella Rotman. It's a great deck. I love working with this deck. And I'm using a 9-card spread that I created. It's my New Year's 2026 tarot spread. I'm going to put the link below if you want to grab your own copy. And I'm just going to shuffle the cards while I talk to you and tell you some things. So my intention with this reading, it's not so much to predict exactly what 2026 is going to be like, because I'm not the world's best predictive tarot reader, but I am going to highlight some of the ways that we can make the most out of this year. So we're going to be exploring like what is going to support you in 2026, what kinds of obstacles might pop up, how to navigate any obstacles that do pop up, what the main themes are going to be. So we're going to explore all of that. Now, if you enjoy this reading, please give me a like, subscribe to my channel, and of course, I love comments, so feel free to leave me a comment. So I'm just gonna lay the cards out here. And you won't be able to see the cards, so I'm gonna show them to you on my screen so that you know what cards I'm talking about. And a couple things I want to mention. The first thing is that I'm going to be leading a workshop on January 4th. It's a Sunday. It's called Plan Your Year Ahead. And this is a tarot planning workshop. It will help you set your intentions for the year ahead and use your tarot cards. I teach this workshop every year and it's tons of fun. You don't have to come live. You'll also get the replay if you sign up. So I'm going to put the link below if you want to check that out. Okay, now before I turn over the first card, I just want to share some of my intuitive feelings about the year ahead. So 2026, if you add up all the numbers in 2026, you get the number 10. Now in the tarot, 10 has to do with sort of something coming to an end. Like think of all the 10s in the minor arcana. So 10 has to do with something coming to an end, wrapping things up, and then you can further add the number 10 up and you will get the number 1. So 1 plus 0 equals 1. And the ones are all about new beginnings. So because of that, I think that for many of us, 2026 will be finishing things up. There will be lots of endings. We'll be wrapping things up and then also starting new things. There'll be a lot of new beginnings as well, but the new beginnings might feel more like planting seeds. I feel like ultimately for many of us, 2026 is going to be a year of transition. It might be a year where we're kind of trying to get our bearings straight. We're grounding ourselves. We're planning. We're planting seeds. We're getting clear on our intentions and what's important to us. And I almost feel like it might not be like the most exciting year. It may even be a little bit boring at times, which is sometimes not bad, right? It's not terrible. But I have this feeling that it will be a year of new beginnings, but it's like new beginnings, not in the sense of like excitement, new beginnings, but like planting seeds and just kind of getting things started. And then I think 2027 is going to be the year where a lot of things start to pick up and take off. That's just my intuitive vibe, though, about the year ahead. Well, let's turn over the cards and see what comes up. Okay, so the first card that I'm going to turn over, I'm actually going to move over a little bit so that there's room on my screen for the cards. So the first card that I'm going to turn over is the opening message of the reading. This is what you need to hear. This is what you need to know regarding the year ahead, 2026. And the card that we got here is the Death card. My ring light is kind of reflecting in a weird way there. So this is interesting because I did have that feeling like 2026 was going to be a year of transition and some endings and new beginnings, and that is essentially what death is all about. So I feel like the death card is a card of transition, but I feel like it's more than that. I feel like it's drawing our attention to something. There's something about the death figure. He's looking straight at us and he's saying, look at me, like look at me right now. And death is a symbol of impermanence. And so I feel like the death card here is inviting us to contemplate the fact that everything in life is temporary and impermanent, and to not take anything for granted, and to approach 2026 knowing that everything is temporary. So if there's struggles this year, if there's challenges and difficulties, know that these struggles and challenges are temporary. And I really feel like there's an invitation here with the death card about living life from a place of like real presence, being in the moment, being in the present, and appreciating the fact that nothing lasts forever. We're always in flux, we're always in flow, we're always kind of transitioning and evolving and changing in our own way. It's a card of awakening of sorts. So the death card really is a certain kind of awakening. And so I feel like this kind of heralds the beginning of a shift or a change that we'll be experiencing in 2026. And some of us might experience this in the beginning of the year. Some of us might experience it partway through, and some of us maybe towards the end. But I feel like there is a waking up with this card, a kind of an awakening. And it's kind of like when you wake up from a dream and slowly you start to kind of like regain your consciousness. That's the feeling that I'm getting with this death card. So 2026, and I said this before I turned over these cards, I said, I feel like this is a year of like endings and new beginnings. So I do think that for many of us, 2026 is going to be a year of transition, but it might feel a little awkward, like it's the transition between something that has ended and you're saying goodbye to something, but the new thing has not yet fully emerged. And so you're kind of in this weird in-between state. So I think that that's going to be a big theme throughout 2026. It's also another theme of death is that this is a card of clearing and letting go. And so as we, step into this new year, ask yourself, what would I like to release? What would I like to clear? Is there anything that I'm ready to let go of? Let's look at the second card. So this next card is going to tell you what is going to help you thrive in 2026. And the card we have here is King of Wands. All right. So the King of Wands is a very interesting king because the kings are all about leadership, confidence, action. And the King of Wands, he's seated, or in this case, it's a woman. So the King of Wands is sitting down, and the suit of Wands has to do with energy and passion. And so I always see the King of Wands as being someone who really knows how to tap into their passion and that energy of like being passionate about something, being inspired by something, and really tapping into that energy and taking action from that place and really devoting their lives and their life's energy and their life's work to the things that they're super passionate about and the things that really have meaning. So I feel like the message here is that 2026, something that's going to really help you thrive this year is tapping into that energy of passion. What are you passionate about? What inspires you? What lights you up from within? The more you explore that and ask yourself that, the easier a time you will have thriving in 2026. So tapping in to that energy of passion. And I also think that something that's going to help you thrive in 2026 will be taking action, but in a new way. So the King of Wands, she is a king of action, but she's sitting down. So she's like taking time to contemplate and really connect to her passions and what's important to her first before she takes action. So this might be different than what you're used to doing. So 2026 is a year of taking action, but doing it in a new way, like allowing time to contemplate and allowing, it's almost like there will be like a shift in consciousness and you will be changing how you take action and how you pursue things. You'll be stepping into your own power more in 2026. And the thing that will help you thrive is connecting to those things that you're passionate and excited about. Okay, let's look at card number 3. So card number 3 is going to tell you what new horizons are going to be coming up this year in 2026. So what kinds of energies and opportunities might be coming your way this year. Okay, we have the Two of Swords. And one thing I should have mentioned at the beginning, I forgot to, so I'm doing it now. This is a reading for the collective. So this is a group reading, but I'm hoping that there'll be certain parts of this reading that will really apply to you in a personal way. It might not all make sense to you. You might not resonate with all of it, but I'm hoping that you resonate with at least some of the things that I'm saying in this reading. So the Two of Swords, this is the New Horizons card. So the Two of Swords shows that as you get into 2026, as you move through the year, feeling a sense of inner conflict will be familiar. So several times throughout the year, you might feel a little conflicted. You'll experience that internal conflict. It might be a conflict between what your heart wants and what your mind says makes the most sense. So conflict between heart and mind, possibly, or just needing to make decisions, needing to make a choice about which path you go down. So if we think that 2026 is a year of endings and new beginnings, as you wrap things up and as you start planting those new seeds, you'll be faced with choices and decisions about what path you want to go down next. When one path has come to an end, you have to decide what path you're going to step onto, and you might have a multitude of different options and choices. And so needing to decide, okay, what direction am I going to go in? Now, the thing that's going to help you make those decisions lies with the King of Wands and what I already said about like tuning into that energy of passion and inspiration. The things that really light you up and fire you up. That's going to help you make those decisions. But the Two of Swords shows the lady on this card has a blindfold on. So she knows she has to make a choice, but she can't really see the whole picture. And that is so frustrating when you don't have all the answers. You don't have all the information you need to make a good decision. So it forces you to turn inward and to rely on your intuition, your instincts, that kind of wild instinctual part of yourself to kind of feel your way forward and make choices. So that may be a bit of a theme that you experience in 2026. Okay, so let's look at card number 4. So this next card is going to show if there's anything that you need to release, what you need to let go of as we wrap up this 2025 and move into 2026. This card's also going to show some of the things, some of the energies and themes that are departing, that were maybe a big thing in 2025 and they're now moving out of the picture. The Magician. What an interesting card to get in this position. Okay. So the Magician, this is so interesting because the Magician, he's very goal-oriented and he almost has a little bit of a lust for power in some ways, but he's very goal oriented, and he's really good at making things happen in this really like direct way, like setting a goal, taking action, making it happen. But that's departing. And I can't help but compare the Magician to the King of Wands, because I think that these two cards, both of them show individuals who are powerful and who are tapped into their own inner power, and they know how to take action and make things happen, but they do it in a different way. So the King of Wands, to me, it has more wisdom, and the King of Wands is seated, and the King of Wands is allowing themselves time to gather their energy and contemplate and come up with a bit of a plan. And the Magician is more like raring to go. Like there's more of this like kind of a youthful sort of impatient kind of energy to the Magician. So that is kind of fading away in favor of that King of Wands approach. Also, there's something about the Magician to me that represents conventional productivity, like being productive in kind of a conventional way, being successful in a conventional linear way. And that approach to things may not work very well this year. Taking more of a King of Wands approach is what's needed. Now, one thing I want to say about the King of Wands is gazing kind of into this fire. And if you've ever gazed into a fire or a candle, there's something very hypnotic about watching the flames. And if you gaze long enough, your brain kind of switches over. So you kind of go into this almost hypnotic kind of different state of consciousness. And it's kind of like that is what's needed, that flip, going into another state of consciousness is what's needed rather than this magician-like approach. The magician-like approach is about setting goals, making a plan, taking action, getting it done. And for whatever reason, that mode of doing things is not really going to be super helpful. It's not going to work in the same way that maybe it has in the past. The other thing I'm noticing is the Magician to me represents like being really sure of yourself and really confident and a lot of certainty. And the Two of Swords, which was the New Horizons card, the Two of Swords is about uncertainty and not being sure if you're making the right choice and feeling that like self-doubt, that inner conflict. So you may find that 2026 is a year where you don't necessarily always know what you're doing. And you might doubt yourself a little bit. You might question things. It's not that you won't feel confident, because the King of Wands is a card of confidence. It's just that you may not feel so sure of yourself this year. I don't think that's a bad thing in this context, but that's what I'm seeing. And then one last thing I want to mention about the Magician is there's something seductive about him, and he can represent a very charismatic and seductive leader or figure. And because this is fading, it's in the let go release, I think that many of us will be seeking wisdom from within rather than looking outside of ourselves for that wisdom. And I think that any kind of like power or it's almost like the spell gets broken. So if you've been, maybe you're following some guru online or something like that, or a spiritual teacher or leader or political figure or something where you really kind of put them up on a pedestal, I think a lot of those illusions will kind of be crumbling. The spells will be sort of fading away, and collectively we'll be sort of turning inward to reconnect with that inner wisdom more deeply rather than searching outside of ourselves for a leader or for someone to bring that wisdom to us. Let's look at the center card in the reading. So the center middle card, I always get excited before I turn this one over. This card will represent the main theme and the main focus of 2026. All right. We have Four of Cups. Okay. So the first thing I notice is the tree. So the girl sitting with her back against the tree in alignment with the straight tree trunk and then the roots going into the ground. Number one, focus for 2026, ground yourself. Ground yourself, and she's meditating. So if I was going to read this in a really literal way, which I am, you want to focus on grounding yourself and meditating. So that's the first thing I get. But the Four of Cups is ultimately a card of boredom and feeling blah, like just feeling emotionally numb and just not feeling excited or passionate about anything. So this is interesting for a couple of reasons. Number one, I said something like this year's might be a little bit boring. That may be true in some ways, but it's also interesting that we got the King of Wands, which was talking about like reconnecting with what you're passionate about and what you're excited about. So the Four of Cups, in terms of a main focus or a main theme for the year ahead, you may feel dissatisfied throughout the year. Notice that whenever you feel bored or dissatisfied, or whenever you're being offered something and you're just not liking it, like this might be a year where you get offered things, opportunities will present themselves, and these opportunities, had they come up, a couple of years ago, you might have jumped at the chance and been really excited, but now you're a different person. You're transitioning, you've changed, you're evolving, you're unfolding. You aren't who you were 2 or 3 years ago. And so those same opportunities might come to you now and you're just like, I can't get excited about this. This is not what I want anymore. So take note of that. Take note of if you notice yourself just not being excited about the things you used to be excited about. And at first you might think, oh, something's wrong. I used to really be into this thing. I used to really want this thing, and now I just don't. It's an indication that you're growing, you're shifting, you're changing. But it's still important to connect with that energy of passion and inspiration and excitement about something, but just know that it might not be for the same things that you always used to be excited about. And you might notice that the reason you are rejecting some of the things being offered to you this year is because they just aren't in alignment with who you are anymore. They might be in a perfect alignment with who you were a few months ago, or a year ago, or 2 years ago, but they're not in alignment with who you are now. So that may feel frustrating throughout the year. I'm not gonna lie, it might be a little bit frustrating, but important to ground yourself, meditate, move inward, and that is going to help you figure out, what's important to you, who are you right now, what is it that you're actually wanting, so that then you can start attracting opportunities and experiences that are more in alignment with who you are. So the theme here is kind of figuring out who you are now, figuring out what is in alignment, and grounding yourself so that that process goes more smoothly. Okay, card number 6. Card number 6 is going to tell you what you're going to want to fully embrace this year in 2026. The card you got here is Strength. Ooh. Okay. So embracing strength, embracing your inner strength, embracing this idea that you are resilient, that you have a lot of resiliency, embracing your own inner resources, recognizing yourself as someone who has strength. This is all very vague and general though. To be more specific, strength is about taking a gentle and compassionate approach to things, and how that does take strength. So having compassion, being gentle with yourself, being gentle with others as you move through this year, that is what you're going to want to embrace the most. And the other message I get with this card is there is like a taming of the beast with the Strength card. Now this might be your own inner beasts, so taming your shadow or your inner beasts, or the outer beasts, which are things that are challenging to you in your day-to-day life. There is a tame, it's almost like you have the ability to tame these inner and outer beasts by being gentle and compassionate. That is the secret sauce to 2026. And it's not easy to do. It's not easy to be compassionate and understanding and gentle, especially if we perceive someone or something to be a threat or a beast. But when you come up against things like that, think of this card. Think of this image of the maiden and the lion. So that is what you want to embrace in 2026, is being compassionate, being gentle, both with yourself and others. Now, I'm really noticing a similarity between the Magician and the Strength card, because they both have the figure 8 above their head. Interesting, hey? And they both take a very different approach to things. Like the Magician is more aggressive and direct, where Strength is the exact opposite. So the Magician is what's the energy that's kind of leaving us, departing. Strength is what's coming towards us. So again, like not approaching things in this really aggressive way, and instead approaching things in a more compassionate, gentle way. Okay, card number 7. Yeah, card number 7. This is the obstacles card. So this card might tell us what kinds of obstacles will be coming up for us this year, or just how to navigate any obstacles that do come up. And we have the Hermit. So I don't see the Hermit as an obstacle. You may find yourself craving more solitude and more alone time this year than in past years. And the Hermit is all about moving inward and prioritizing your spiritual path, prioritizing the relationship that you have to yourself, to your own soul, your spirit. I feel like this card is advising you how to navigate any challenges that come up. So any obstacles, any challenges can be dealt with and navigated by prioritizing the relationship you have with yourself, specifically your spiritual side. So really nurturing your connection to spirit, the connection to your soul, making time for solitude. Again, Hermit is a card of meditation, and I already talked about meditation with the 4 of Cups. So making time for that, making time for yourself, making time to meditate and move inward. The Hermit is also about bringing awareness to something. So again, it's kind of a card of enlightenment, of awareness, and any obstacle or challenge that comes up to you, if you can simply shine that light of awareness on it and see it for what it is, instead of like panicking and rushing to try and fix it and change things, letting it be there and just observing it. Kind of like when you're meditating and thoughts will come into your mind and you just observe. You don't get entangled in the thoughts. You don't judge the thoughts. You just observe. It's kind of like that sort of a thing. So as those challenges, as those obstacles come up, observe them. Shine your inner light of awareness on them. There's also a message here about being still and going inward. So when you come up against a brick wall, when something stops you and you feel like you're treading your wheels and you're not going anywhere, this is your indication to stop, be still, and move inward. And you might find that this year you experience kind of a shift in consciousness that allows you to see things differently, and kind of like what we talked about with the 4 of Cups. And I said, You may not be excited about the same things that you used to be excited about, and the opportunities and offerings that are presented to you may not excite you like they would have in the past. And that's because you're changing, you're evolving, you're unfolding, you're growing, you're shifting, and you're doing so on a level of consciousness. And the Hermit says that that can sometimes be a little bit alienating, because you might find that you don't have things in common with some of the people that you used to have a lot in common with. And so you may find yourself feeling, I don't want to say lonely, because it's not really loneliness, but you may find that connecting with others this year doesn't come as easily as it has in the past. And it will come easily again at some point, but this is just a little blip that you might kind of just have to kind of get over. Okay, let's look at card number 8. So card number 8 is going to show you what is going to support you the most in 2026. King of Cups. So we have another king, King of Wands and King of Cups, and these two kings are very different. King of Wands is more fiery and passionate and adventurous. King of Cups is more chill. He's more emotionally attuned. I think of King of Cups as being like a therapist or a counselor, whereas the King of Wands is like an adventurer, a world traveler. So the King of Cups, this is what is going to really support you in 2026. So the King of Cups, he is a master of the emotional realms, and he is not afraid of his feelings and emotions. And he's really good at working with his emotions and tapping into the power of those emotions and using them to gain insight and understanding. So the thing that's going to support you the most this year is developing a healthy relationship with your feelings and emotions. So the King of Cups would never ignore his feelings or emotions. He wouldn't compartmentalize them or, shut them down or, stuff them away. He wouldn't judge his emotions or feelings, but he would observe them in a non-judgmental way and work with them. And he knows that, emotions and feelings are there for a reason. They tell you something about yourself. So learning how to work with the emotions and learning how to calm your emotions, that's the most important part here. So notice that this king, he's sitting in a boat. He doesn't appear to really be going anywhere. He doesn't look like he's in a hurry. He has this smile on his face. He's just chilling. He's sitting in his rowboat and he looks very calm. The horizon is calm. The sky looks beautiful and calm. It looks like it's a sunset. But the waves are really choppy. So the surface of the water is not calm, and there's little fish jumping up too. So even though he's in choppy waters, he's calm. So the thing that's really going to support you in 2026 is working with your emotions, not against them, and learning how to calm your emotions, calm your feelings, even when things are a little tumultuous and a little bit rocky. You're here for the ride. That's the message I get when I look at the King of Cups, is you're here for the ride. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I want to say. No, that's it. Okay, let's move on to the last card. So this last card is the final closing message of the reading. This is the thing that you need to know about your year ahead before we wrap up the reading. And this card is Four of Pentacles. This card has been coming up a lot for people this year in a lot of the readings that I'm doing. It's a very common card to get this year. So I'm not surprised to see this as the final message. So the Four of Pentacles, I think of this as being about saving money. So the closing message here is to be very, I want to say like conservative in how you use your resources. So your resources this year can include financial resources, so money, energetic resources. So your time, your energy, what you're putting your focus on, what you're feeling strong emotions for, what you're spending your time on. These are all ways that you use your resources. And the Four of Pentacles is saying that you don't have unlimited resources this year. So really being intentional in how you use your time, your money, your energy, etc., your focus, and really thinking of conserving things. So maybe not being as free with spending this year, seeing if you can create a savings, like a little nest egg. For some reason I'm focusing on money just because this is a Pentacles card, but this can also refer to like your time, your energy, your focus, etc. So being careful about how you spend your resources this year. Yeah, and this isn't, I know this isn't like a fun card to get as the final card, but it's, to me, it's a card, like I kind of had this intuitive feeling that 2026 was a year of kind of planning, getting your bearings straight, and I think saving and conserving things is a part of that. So yeah, so that's what I get with Four of Pentacles. There's also like a protective feeling with the Four of Pentacles, kind of like building a nest around yourself, lining that nest. There's that sort of an energy there as well. Kind of goes nicely with the Hermit and what I said about, you know, prioritizing, kind of spending time with yourself and your spiritual practice. Okay, so now all the cards are turned over. So I'm going to show you all the cards together now on the screen so you can see the big picture. And we're going to look at some of the themes here. So one theme that I'm noticing is the theme of moving inward. So that came up with a lot of cards. So it came up with the King of Wands kind of did, like this was about kind of connecting to your inner passion. Two of Swords, definitely moving inward, connecting with intuition and instinct. Four of Cups was, I said, you know, this is about meditating and grounding yourself. The Hermit obviously is about moving inward. The King of Cups is also a card of moving inward and you know, developing a healthy relationship with your emotional realm. So moving inward is a big one. Stillness and contemplation. You'll notice a lot of these cards, there's not a lot of movement happening in them. In fact, the most movement we really see is the Death card. The horse is kind of galloping forward, and then everyone else in this reading is either sitting still or standing still. The King of Cups is seated in his boat. There's movement around him with all the waves, but everybody else is still. So this makes sense to me because I did see 2026 as being a year where, like, sure, it's more like you're making progress almost like in an internal way, not in an external way. So a lot of the changes and transitions that you'll be making in 2026 will be internal, not necessarily external. I think 2027 will be a year where you see more external changes and you see yourself moving forward in a more obvious way. But yeah, okay. So then the other thing I get is contemplation. So the King of Wands, Four of Cups, Two of Swords, the Hermit, even the King of Cups, they're all kind of in some state of contemplation. And then there is the theme of lack. So we have two cards that are fours. We have the Four of Cups and the Four of Pentacles. Four of Cups represents almost a lack of excitement, a lack of like emotional enthusiasm for something. Four of Pentacles is about feeling kind of a lack of resources and wanting to like maybe save a little bit. So that might come up for you throughout the year. The biggest challenges this year will be that feeling like your enthusiasm is waning for some of the things you used to be excited about. Maybe not feeling that excited about some of the things that are offered to you this year. And Also feeling like you kind of have to save money, you have to kind of reel in spending, like that's also kind of challenging, I think. I think a lot of us are experiencing that. And then the Two of Swords is another challenge. So feeling conflicted and having to make a decision, but maybe not feeling like you have enough information to make an informed choice. That can be challenging. And Strength is also a challenging card. It's not always easy being compassionate and being gentle. So again, that's a challenge. So there will be little challenges here and there throughout this year, but ultimately this is a year of mastery. So we see cards like the King of Wands, we see the King of Cups, the Hermit, Strength, even the Magician, even though I know the Magician is what's kind of going away. These are all cards of mastery. So this reading, and actually if you look at the cards, there's a diamond shape. We've got the King of Wands at the top, King of Cups at the bottom. We have the Magician on one side, Strength on the other. And these are all cards of mastery. So that really feels exciting. And the figure 8 that we see above the heads of the Magician and the Strength card is so interesting. I'm not 100% sure what that means, what to make of that. And then we of course have the crowns above the head of the two kings as well. I just feel like that symbol of the figure 8, it really connects these two cards, the Magician and Strength. And I think it just really highlights the energy that is leaving, which is the Magician-like energy, which is very almost aggressive in a way, and very like linear success oriented, goal oriented, action oriented, in favor of the Strength card, which is about compassion and gentleness and earning trust and taming the beast and connecting with your inner resources and your inner strength. So yeah, lots of powerful cards here. And it looks like it will be an interesting year, as always. So let me know what you thought. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And I just want to say thank you so much for watching. My name is Kate. I'm the Daily Tarot Girl. Make sure to subscribe to my channel. Give me a like. It really helps my channel out a lot, and I appreciate it so much. So I'm wishing you all the best in 2026.